Hello, how are you?
Hi.
I'm happy to talk to you today.
Oh, great.
Can you tell me about uh, the good transition about life? You give me your story.
Oh, okay. Um, well, I've had several unfortunate transitions in the past couple of years, and uh, kind of my transitions kind of led me to um, wanting to know more about social work and social justice.
How do you feel about this this challenge or this experience?
Um, well, unfortunately, I feel that mentally it's been challenging. Um, I oftentimes don't know where to go or who to go to, but I continue to try to maintain uh, a status of stability while I continue to go through this transition that I'm going through right now.
Um, uh, do you feel it is do you feel it is great transition that you are facing? You feel happy or positive or negative transition? What do you think?
I, I feel negative. I feel optimistic because my transition has encountered many discriminations, many systems that are discriminatory, and many microaggressions that I feel that are not intentional. And perhaps I can share, what I'm going through in more depth, and it has led me to believe that perhaps um, I should let it go in one sense. Perhaps I should seek services, and but another part of me wants to see social justice for what it's worth. And in my transition, I'm not experiencing any social justice and what has happened to me.
So that's why you are going to going deep in the social work because you believe that this is a way that can offer social justice for individuals.
Correct. Um, and just to give a short summation of my transition, I was working for a provider, Grace of Serenity, and they offered uh, behavioral health residential facilities. They had three locations, um, and I met the CEO online, um, and apparently she had knowledge of my background in working with some of the state agencies. Which we were contracted with ADHS, which is Arizona Department of Health Services, and by way of ADHS, I became employed at a company called Value Options. And Value Option was a nonprofit, like what you would describe as an HMO, but a organized manager health care entity that uh, was known as what they called the REBA, or the Regional Behavioral Health Authority for Maricopa County. Well, I came on with them. I come from Los Angeles Housing Authority in their contract department as a contract specialist, and had been at Housing Authority for just under a year. And prior to that, I had uh, was released from federal prison after serving 9 years for drug trafficking. Never been caught with drugs or sold drugs or anything like that, but certainly I was brought in as a conspirator, so to speak. That's what they called it, and taken away from my family. Um, Pretty much, had to face trial with the only evidence against me was that I was from Los Angeles, and uh, I didn't have any community ties in the particular state in which I was charged. And I wasn't even charged in my correct name. It was just a name that I was charged with. And nonetheless, uh, right before trial, I learned that there were scores of individuals that would come in and testify against me, and this testimony was defined as admissible hearsay, and I couldn't come to terms with that. What is admissible hearsay? Like, how is hearsay relevant? Or even admissible? When I'm charged with, I was charged with uh, distributing 23 kilos of cocaine, and no physical evidence, no money, no wiretap, no nothing. Just this conspiracy that I was the person behind these 23 kilos of cocaine that people only spoke about. There was no seizures or no
So,
anything like that.
excuse me. This
Okay.
this showed me that if I'm right, I thought
Okay.
that you are judging about the community here
Hmm.
as there is misunderstanding. Um, I don't want to say it is not social justice prevail this community, and I hope that's what
Well,
you
you're
mean.
correct. That's correct. And I try to not look at it as something against me personally or against my
Mm-hmm.
culture, which is, Black American. I look at it as a system problem. And um, I had two young kids. My daughter was 2 months old and my son was 5. Um, I didn't know how I was going to be able to be away from them. And I didn't have children with the understanding that, I would go to prison or not be able to take care of them or anything like that. In fact, I was in college. I was a business owner, uh, and I was, just starting my life off as an adult, and this happened, and
Why you think the social work? Or you believe this social work career will help not even you as a person, other vulnerable people?
um, I've always been a trendsetter. I've always been able to, change people's views about even, in the legal arena. I have 1 year law school. When I was released, I was recommended for law school. Um, and I chose to do, uh, I took the opportunity to advance my education while I was away. And through permission with the warden and different other, people of interest, I was able to not only continue my education, but I was able to pay for it. And so I became kind of a I became sort of an activist and advocate uh, before release. And when I was released, there were lawyers and different legal entities that were wanted to bring me on board. I got the recommendation for law school, and I accepted it, and then I became familiar with the behavioral health system, and I found that the two were so intertwined. The legal and behavioral health system was so
Mm-hmm.
intertwined to where now, coming of age, I saw my situation or my transition as having a huge impact on social justice. And I
Mm-hmm.
say that not to say that, oh, I was choking on a piece of potato chip. But anyway, uh, I see my transition, and the transition that I speak of is not what I had encountered back in 2003, but certainly this transition was a transition to where I was encountering these microaggressions, because of my record, and then it's easy for me to say that, oh, they're just discriminating against me because I'm black or I'm African American, or I have a past in a gang, or I was a drug leader, or I was this, or it's easy for me to identify with a number of reasons why I can't progress, in the
Mm-hmm.
field of my choice.
Mm-hmm. That's why you chose to be a social worker.
No, not exactly. Well, and I can just say this, that uh, I, I I applied for the job here in Arizona, and I lived in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that uh, this job, it was housing administrator, and it seemed that I had all of the qualifications. And one thing about this value options company, they were very culturally aware.
Mm-hmm.
And my past didn't prohibit them from offering me this position, with my own office, the whole nine, and I was the housing administrator over what they define as the SMI population,
Mm-hmm.
seriously mentally ill. And here in the state of Arizona, they have a law that was still a lawsuit that was still in existence when I transitioned, and it was 2006. We're talking 12, 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this law, Arnold versus Sarn, was a law in which, the state of Arizona was sued for failing to take care of its mentally ill consumers.
Mhm.
And at that time, consumers were defined as people with a serious mental illness. And I don't even think that they are called consumers today because of the stigmas and that are associated with that term. But nonetheless, I come to learn how legislation, as well as the various branches of government play a key role in our health, especially our behavioral health.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the behavioral or
The
social classes,
justice, also so
social classes?
classes.
What will offer for social justice?
Well, you know, we live in a society where there are, various classes, and I can't seem to identify a class as a culture because I'm of the perspective that we're all here, and the culture in America is unique for everyone.
Hmm.
You got school, you got welfare, you got health, you got insurance, you got equal opportunity and equal access.
Hmm.
You got freedoms and
What do you
liberties.
think about that? You feel it's good?
Well, I feel that I feel good knowing that that's there, right?
Hmm.
But I don't feel good about systems that that fail to take into consideration uh, 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 the social inequalities within particular ethnic groups. And I can't
I'm sorry.
define.
Do you think that is there is some contradiction, if I hear you well,
Mhm,
that it give opportunity for every individual?
mhm.
So every individual should have to do good for the society.
That's right.
So this your system that give these equal chances, equal opportunities. I think they are going for social justice. How it comes for the other side, as you said, it's not. And the other side is not giving opportunities.
Well, and again, you know, you know, given my perspective,
Mhm.
we, we're expecting white privilege. We're expecting that, so, that white guy's going to get the job. I'm not going to get the job.
Yeah,
I mean, this is what,
I got it. Yeah,
this is what, that culture perspective will lead you to believe, right? But if you look into the heart of the
deep.
situation, you'll find that well, there's
This,
other aggressions that systems have that are unknowing. It's just like that system doesn't exclude me from this job because of the color of my skin.
mhm,
That system is gone.
yeah.
But that system may exclude me because, I went to federal prison 20 years ago. So now, do I say, well, do this is the system posing these microaggressions, or did the person that I interview with, have a bias toward me because I'm black? And so we never can tell what different aspects of us as an individual, because we're all individuals, and I don't believe that I can't follow the whole idea of my culture. My culture is your culture. My
Mhm.
culture is, I want to come home from work. I want to
Mhm.
go out to the ball game and have a hot dog. I
Mhm.
want to, have great credit. I want to be of the same culture as you. Now
Mhm.
there are some differences in
Okay.
how I view
Things.
or how my value system may be different from your value system because your system is a value system that was based on privileges. And my
Mhm.
value system was a system based on survival. So
Mhm.
our systems are completely different.
But what do you think about social work study? What do you think about that? What will offer for you as an individual?
Well, I think that if there's going to be a change,
Yeah.
I think that I have the perspective to make that change. And I only say that because I look at, you know, and I'm here in the state of Arizona, and certainly as a result of the transitions that have recently occurred in my life, I
Mm-hmm.
do understand that here in this state that there is a system of injustices that have not been brought to the attention, of the states. We're not recognizing that for the last 25 years you had this massive incarceration scheme to
Mm-hmm.
that has a huge impact on a particular ethnic or ethnic groups. And so as a result of that, I take it out of that perspective and I say, okay, well, I do understand that we have to have a system in place to identify a person by their record. So you have all of these agencies, all of these hiring agencies, all these companies and corporations that get the opportunity to exclude. Now we 80% of us can be black and 20% of us can be Hispanic,
Mm-hmm.
but we're all excluded. And
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that society wants to hear, or that what society hears from us, is that well we were excluded because we're black, or we're excluded because we're Mexican, or we're and that's not the case. We're excluded because you have stigmatized us. We have a
Mm-hmm.
system in place that stigmatizes us, identifies us, and we carry this identity no matter when that identity occurred.
Mm-hmm.
If that identity occurred at 18 or 19, okay, I was 19 years old, and yes, okay, I went to federal prison for a nonviolent crime. I never been accused of violence. I never been accused of hurting anyone. I never been accused of anything but a conspiracy. A conspiracy. But yet, all of these years later, I get this
But
rejection.
what do you think that this system or this community you are talking about has a president, or, as you said, it's not everyone they will know no discrimination. If a black president being a president for the nation, I think there is no the system is doing well. It may be about the individual's effort or challenges.
Well, I don't think nothing, having a black president or white president, because when we had a black president, anytime and every time you spoke of this president, you always had to put black first. I never hear you say we got a white president Trump, or white president Trump, or white
Mhm.
president Bush, or white president Carter, but yet you get a black president, it's always, black president Obama,
Mhm.
our first black president.
So, do you think that no social justice will prevail this society with this nation?
I don't think that this nation is ready to come to terms with
Social justice.
a realistic social
Mm-hmm.
justice.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, the social justice that we see today is so superficial.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, very recently, I I became a business owner here in the state of Arizona. I was the CEO of the corporation, and this particular corporation owned and operated a neighborhood restaurant and bar. Not only was I the CEO, but I was also a 50% shareholder until I sold 27% of my shares. Now, having said all that, I I bought into this business or invested in this business with the understanding that it did have a liquor license and it was a profitable entity. It was an entity where I can uh, uh, renovate, to turn it into a profitable entity. Um, and, I'm a pretty good, businessman and leader and employer. And, I take very, strongly to the rights of others. Uh, so after taking over this business, I put payroll together, for my employees and offered them medical and comprehensive and insurance and made them feel like they were a part of something. I trained managers and I had come up with ways to make this entity profitable. And in the same token, I leveraged out the existing shareholder. And I did that.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go
What do
ahead.
you think about human rights organizations? Well, I think this movement is a long ago started with people that there are human rights claims, human rights organizations, and many things. And now you can go back to our social work classes and social work job as a career for having a social justice in community.
Well,
So it will give, I think, the minimum for some people, for some oppressive people, it can help just a little for this society.
no,
It will not give anything.
no. I mean,
It's not real.
it's not going to help if we don't put the systems in place to help it.
Uh-huh.
And and I was just telling you of this particular tragedy because uh, a Phoenix police officer falsely arrested me. Uh, and once he learned that he had falsely arrested me, I was released. And the same police officer, to protect his job, he decided to go before a grand jury and tell him a complete lie. And this lie turned into me being arrested a second time and being charged with forging my own company's payroll check. And it was the craziest thing, to be charged, with forging a corporation's check in which I'm the CEO.
Mhm.
With bylaws, I mean, we have bylaws. Bylaws are like the laws of the corporation, right? We got bylaws. We got meeting minutes from our board meetings. We got all these things in place, but because now I can say it could be because of this. It can be because I wear a baseball cap every day. It could be because you don't like me. It could be of a number of different reasons why, or you did it to protect yourself.
Mhm.
Because one thing you did say that, oh, that one, Sebastian,
Mhm.
very well educated. Now, why that mattered, I have no idea, but I do know that I had to encounter this wrongfulness. And then when I come into the system, I get a lawyer. And at first, the lawyer was, white lady. She couldn't believe, how all of this evidence tend to show that I'm innocent. But you know what she ended up doing? She ended up convincing me that I should plead guilty. Why?
I'm against injustice, of
That's
course. As a
interesting.
social worker, I'm against anything to be unjustified towards people because of their color, their ethnicity, their beliefs. It's really unfair, and I hope that these people, as you said, it should be managed with the system, not with the people, because
Right.
I find the people having social justice. As you said, the people individual, but the system, as I read about it, it is forcing people to be social justice. So I hope this to prevail this nation, and I hope I'm sorry for your experience, and I hope that your classes as a social worker and your real career, you have to improve that. Social work is for social justice.
Oh, wow.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here. Have
Thank
a
you
good
so
one.
much.
All right. Hey, that's good.